Welcome back to the show at nearly 25 past 10. Well, it is 25 past 10 now with Barry Fair and my outsider here. And this is segment 3 of the show of episode 66 for this Tuesday, the 29th of September. The next segment today is about being prepared for an outing with clients and staff. Now, always make sure you've got enough of everything such as your plates, moppers, cups, knives, forks, and thickness. Here's my outsider to open the third segment now on the show.
Yes, good morning, Barry. Thank you for having me again. It is very important to be prepared for a client outing, to make sure you have all the right utensils and equipment for the person.
And that includes their day file in case they need to go to the hospital, and the mobile phone numbers in case something happens to the client. Here's my outsider.
Yes, it's very important that you have their day files and all their emergency contact numbers as well in case something does happen to that person. But make sure you have, if they have any daytime medication as well, any thickener that needs to be done for their personal needs, all those sort of things as well.
And always make sure that you don't bring foods that may not have to be heated up, because you may go somewhere with the clients to a place that does not have a microwave. Here's my outsider.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's very important to maybe suss the area out where you're going to first, whether they have the right equipment for you to use a microwave or not. If not, you can always ask to pack a cold lunch, or if worse comes to worse, you can always heat your food up here and cover it with some foil to try and keep as warm as possible.
And always make sure you discuss where you are going on the day, because sometimes the day before it's not feasible. Here's my outsider.
Yes, as Barry said, it's very important you try to discuss on the day before you go to where you would like to go, because also it can be a factor of weather dependent. If it's raining, you can't really go outside, you have to go inside a mall or something. Or if it's a nice day, you don't want to go too far where there's not enough shade and those sort of things as well.
And which brings me on to the next subject of segment 3 here on episode 66. Always make sure you know that the client has enough sun cream and their sunglasses and comfortable clothing for the outing. Here's my outsider.
Yes, it's very important, as Barry was saying, that the client and yourself has adequate sunscreen as well if it's a very hot day, and also sun care with the hat as well.
And make sure that you listen to the radio reports before you leave your own house to find out what the temperature should be, what the temperature is. And I will pause there. Welcome back to segment 3 of episode 66. How to prepare for an outing, and if it's a hot day. Consider whether you should cancel the outing if it's really hot, and if there's a total fire ban wherever you may be going. Here's my offside.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's very important that you look at the weather for the day, forecast before you go, and if it is extremely hot, then you might have some cases where you need to cancel or change the location completely.
Because with the warmer weather up on us, guys, it is very important for staff and clients, okay, to make sure that they're not too hot on the outing, because sickness on an outing, guys, it doesn't mix. Here's my offside.
No, as Barry was saying, it's very important that you're all healthy and well on an outing, because if you are feeling quite ill, it becomes a very distressing and not a very enjoyable outing for all.
And if an ambulance has to be called, please phone the manager here and inform them of what has happened. Here's my offside.
Yes, that's very true as well. If an ambulance needs to be called, make sure you call their emergency contact as well, also the managers as well.
And also let the managers here know what has happened, and tell the managers to let the clients' carers know, or their taxi drivers. Here's my offside.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's extremely important to let all people involved with that person for the day know what's going on, especially because they had to be taken away by an ambulance.
So please, have fun out there, but be really careful. Here's my offside.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's very important to, go out there, enjoy yourself, but be careful as well, and keep your distance because of COVID. It is still around.
And 1.5 meters, guys. Here's my offside.
Yes, as Barry was saying, 1.5 metre distance. The room we're in right now is only allowed to have 4 people because of the 1.5 metre distance rule, which we are adhering to.
And how not to plan an outing. Here we go. How not to plan an outing. Don't assume that you have everything packed and you get in the bus and you think, uh-oh, I've got to go back and get the client's medication and thickener. Here's my offside.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's very important that you do pack everything. How not to go on an outing is not to pack anything that the client needs, because then you have to go back, as Barry was saying, and pick up something, or you have to cancel the whole outing as well.
And another important thing you must not do is leave someone alone in the vehicle, especially on a hot day. Here's my offside.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's extremely important that you do not leave anyone alone in the vehicle, especially on a hot day, because that person might have some health needs, that they might have a seizure or something like that out of the blue, so you have to be very careful that there's always a staff member there.
And don't assume that you have enough of first aid supplies, because if there's an accident in the bus or something, you must always have your first aid supplies and enough gloves to treat yourself and the client. So don't assume that you have got enough first aid supplies in your first aid kit. Here's my offside.
As Barry said, it's very important to make sure you have adequate supplies in the first aid kit, and also that those things are in date, especially anything to do with liquid or band-aids or anything to do with alcohol wipes. They need to be in date or they're going to be basically useless.
And always make sure, don't assume that you have gloves, because you may find that there are no gloves in the glove box to treat the person until the ambulance gets there. Please don't not prepare for the outing properly. This is not the way to prepare for an outing or be prepared for an emergency, because if you have an accident in the bus and you find that you haven't got enough supplies for the first aid kit, you've had it. Here's my outsider.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's very important that check the first aid kit first before you go, or make sure it has been updated within the last month, so that when you do go and you might have an accident, you have everything prepared and ready for you.
And always make sure that you reassure your passengers on the bus before you go on the outing. Don't assume that the passengers or you are okay, because you might suddenly fall ill. Here's my offside.
Yes, as Barry was saying, it's extremely important to make sure all your passengers are okay before going, and don't assume, as he said before as well.
And always make sure that you wait for the paramedics. Here's my offsider.
Yes, as Barry was saying, if you have to call an ambulance, do what you can within your means and in your training, but wait for the paramedics to arrive to assist.
And always make sure that you have a mobile phone that is charged. Here's my offline.
As Barry is showing his mobile phone now, which is fantastic, make sure it's always charged and you know the numbers. What's the number again, Barry, for emergency?
000 if you use a public phone, but if you use a mobile, it is 112. Here's my offsider.
As Barry said, it's very good. He knows exactly what the number is if he needs to call. So it's 000 or 112.
And always make sure that you know the area that you are going to have enough phone coverage, or reception as we call it here, and don't assume that you may get phone coverage because you might be going somewhere remote and you haven't got phone reception. Here's my offsider.
As Barry was saying, if you are taking clients with you, it's always good to be within a telephone outlet around, so you do have reception. But the good thing is, if you do call emergency services, you can get onto someone.
Well, we might take a break now and come back to the show in a while, but it is time for a tea break now, and we'll come back in the second floor in about 15 minutes, so don't go away. Plenty more coming up on the show. Here's my outsider.
Yeah, we'll just go for a tea break and we'll be back. Don't go too far away and we'll see you soon.
This is episode 66. I'm airing at 10 o'clock. The time is 19 minutes to 11. Stay right where you are, because we've got plenty more coming up on the show.